you all so much for joining us live Monday, December 20th of the year 2021. Holy cow, this year
Ho, ho. Yep. 2022. The,
the one and only podcast land. As always, joined alongside my co-host, Mr. Andy Van Beverly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing better than you are. I mean, geez. But, you know.
I am stuck in a. It's been a bit of a blessing in disguise.
It is. Yep. It's something to.
For those that do not know, I am currently quarantined at my house. The COVID bug has struck our home since the time we spoke. So me and my wife and my daughter, we are currently quarantining, feeling good. I personally am not having any issues. Um,
Um,
Tony, on the other hand, not very well this week, but we have pumped her full of vitamins and making sure she's got plenty of rest. And
I'll let you blame me. I'll let you blame me for it. You know. Who,
well, we're not sure if we had picked it up during the weekend festivities or if it was during work, like on Monday, just before that. But thankfully, um, both my parents got tested; they're both negative. All of
yeah.
our friends around us that we saw all tested negative, so that part is good. We just were the unlucky household, I guess, but we're doing great.
That's good. That's good.
I'm good. I've been extremely busy doing some research, doing some thoughts that I'll throw by you after the show and chat
Sure.
maybe give you an update on that. But other than that, yeah, Tony is well rested,
Good.
still
Good.
has some tiredness from the past couple of days going. Those kind of long-term side effects for a little while with it and everything. But we're gonna get through it, and then it's kind of perfect because it really does set us up for right for the new year kind of nicely. Because just um, with work and the holiday season and Christmas and Memorial Day, we just have a week anyway, so it's gonna come through, and we'll get to start the new year good to go, ready to kick some butt. So
That's great. That's good. When just to give for the folks at home just a little bit of a. Sean sends me the text like right. What day was that? Was that Tuesday or Wednesday after the wedding?
Wednesday.
And I said to Janine, I was like, dear God, I hope I didn't give that. But she's like, no, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You've already been. You were. I was like, I was like, okay, because I honestly thought I'm responsible. So no, but I'm glad to hear that she's doing okay. I sent her a message on Messenger, and I just said, hey, get better and keep on kicking Sean's butt. But no, do want to thank Delno Elby for being on last week. That was a great conversation. We are now. Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you this before the show, Sean. So I listened while I was folding laundry. Listened to the Voice of Reason podcast on my Amazon Alexa.
Nice.
And I just thought I'd do a shot in the dark, and I thought, so for those of you who have the Alexas at home, you just do a play Voice of Reason podcast 2021, and you're good to go. So I but that was something really neat. But so we're all I guess, geared up for. We finished up our Christmas shopping Saturday, which is good. We actually stayed under budget this year, which is surprising. But we are. I'm kind of nervous. We are going to be. Last year we did not. We usually go to Chicago to her family's up there. And so we are going. I'm nervous about that going into a larger, I guess, populated, metropolitan area. I think we're going to stay. I mean, we're going to probably stay away from the city this time. Just kind of go between the hotel and her brother's place, and just really limit about, not going out to eat and stuff like that. Because, I don't know. Oh, yeah. We'll see. We usually do get Giordano's delivered to her brother's house, and that's one thing that I am looking forward to. Giordano's Pizza, and but we're excited about that. So we will have a podcast next week. We're not sure as to what day because I will be coming back on Monday. So we will have a podcast next week. Just looking at what day, we'll let you know. Just keep an eye on the website. So. Yes. Yep. Yep. And we're yep. And I'm gonna be giving Tony some major plugs next week. So yeah. So, but you do that all the time. But that's neither here nor there. So hey yo, there it is. But we do also, one other thing before we get started, we do want to watch. They said they can't hear Sean. Uh-oh. Okay, that's not good at all. All right. Yeah. Sound isn't right. I only can hear V. All right. Let's see here. Hold on 1 second. I've got all my settings where I normally have them at. I see what it is. All right, try it now, Sean. Let's see if they can hear.
How about now? Can the people hear me now?
Can you folks let us know if you can hear Sean right now? I bet you they can hear. They'll be able to hear. They should be able to hear you now.
Comment here in a moment. Yeah. Actually, here I can just try to pull us up on my handy dandy.
Oh, I got. Yep, good to go. Yep.
Okay.
Good
Well,
to go. Thank you, folks. Sorry about that, but we'll have to. That means I have to edit the video, Sean, for this week. I'll have to edit everything out. Man, I'll have to do the intro.
Man, it's gonna be tough work for you.
Well,
I apologize.
So we'll be starting from this point right here at 7 minutes and 35 seconds in. Welcome to the Voice of Reason podcast.
Yes.
I am Andy Van
Weber.
Sean Phillips, right there he is.
For those of you that missed the first 7 minutes, we apologize. We're not going to go back and talk about what we rambled on about that whole time. But
Sean is in quarantine, all that good stuff, and so. But no, this week, the title of our show this week, Sean and I both have a couple of topics, and I guess I'll go ahead and go into mine, Sean, if you're all right with that.
Please do. Yeah, jump in.
The title for those of you who heard tonight or saw tonight, the title of tonight's show I called the Christmas Perspective, and I wanted to talk a little bit about, people have known. What do you want to call it? The trivial side of what Christmas, how it came to be, and we know it's to celebrate the birth of Christ. And I did some research today. So before the time of Jesus, Europeans actually celebrated the winter solstice, as they believed that the worst of the winter was over, was behind them. You can also look back. I thought this was kind of interesting. You can look back to Norse history, Scandinavian history. They celebrated this time of year that was actually called Yule, where we get Yule time and all this other stuff. And they celebrated this from December the 21st to about the middle of January. And how they celebrated this was they set a large log on a fire, a Yule log. We've heard that term before. And they feast until the log has burned completely out. And so usually it's like 12 days. And each spark from the fire represented a new pig or a calf that they would be born in the next year. The Romans. Now, this is, of course, this is fun to talk about the Romans. The Romans celebrated, I'm going to get this pronunciation right, Saturnalia. And the Romans celebrated in honor of the god Saturn, the god of agriculture. And during this time, social order was, what's the politically correct way of saying it, was just a tad bit upside down. It was very, there's a hedonistic. Let's just use the word hedonistic. Anything goes, public orgies, pedophilia, all that good stuff. So that went on. So the actual birth of Christ was not really. The early church focused more on Easter than they did about Christmas. So long about 4th century, I would say it was probably 375, 385, somewhere in there, that the church chose December 25th to celebrate on this day to absorb all of these pagan religions. By Middle Ages, Christianity had replaced the pagan holiday, and Christians attended church, and then they had kind of a, and then I could go on for about an hour, but they had a Mardi Gras kind of atmosphere, the way that some of the, and so it was, and Christmas became the time of year when the upper class could repay their real or imagined debts to society and to their slaves and to everything else. And it kind of turned into a mockery. And so when the Puritans took over England in 1645, they outlawed Christmas. Some of the first settlements in America didn't. I read one thing that to celebrate Christmas in Boston was illegal until the late 1600s. You were fined 5 shillings if you were found to be celebrating Christmas. But then 1800s, and then I found this. Do you know, Sean, what literary piece started the celebration of Christmas back up in England again?
I don't.
Think early 1800s, classic British author. Think of something you see every time at Christmas time. You see the TV, some version of it. Jim Carrey did the last version of it.
Oh, well, okay. So, yeah, the Christmas Carol.
Christmas Carol. Charles Dickens wrote the Christmas.
I almost said The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I was like,
yes, Tim Burton was allowed. Yes, Tim Burton, 1800s. Yes. So, and so then he wrote, and he was kind of under contract. If you've ever watched, there's a good film you can watch. I think it was called The Man Who Invented Christmas or something like that. But it tells the story from Dickens, how it was basically a story about Dickens and how he was under the pinch to write this book. And he had cranked out, what was it, Oliver Twist and all these other books that he had cranked out. And so he was under pressure, and he cranked out. You can actually read A Christmas Carol in pretty much one setting. It's a very short book. And so that kind of got things going. Christmas here in America. You talk about the legend of Santa Claus. Can be traced. You guys have heard the story about the Turkish monk, St. Nicholas, 280, I believe. And he gave all his inherited wealth, traveled the countryside, helping the poor and the sick. And he became popular in the late 18th century, so late 1700s in New York, when Dutch families gathered to honor the anniversary of the death of St. Nicholas. And then he came in as St. Nicholas, or Sinterklaas for short, from the Dutch folk, and so we get Santa Claus from this abbreviation. And then 1822, an Episcopalian minister wrote a story that was originally called An Account of a Visit from St. Nicholas, which was later changed to "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." The poem depicted Santa Claus as a jolly man, and this is where we get him from today. Christmas became a federal holiday June 26, 1870. So, I say all of that, and just some other facts I gathered here real quick. I thought this was interesting. 30 to 35 million real Christmas trees are sold in the United States alone every year. And it says, the first eggnog was made in the United States, was consumed in Captain John Smith's Jamestown settlement, 1607. So all of this, and I asked a question today on and thank you for all those who responded to. I actually got a lot of personal messages, and from a lot of, what's this? Kyle McGuire says, I can't focus with that peach fuzz. You look different Lose your razor. Ha ha ha. Okay, so anyway, yes, anyway, so as I was looking at this, you know, our view of the world, my view of the world. Let me just say, I'm not going to draw everybody in this. And Sean, please, anytime you agree or disagree.
Sure.
My view of the world has become very jaded in the last year to year and a half. If it's called becoming a grumpy old man, if it's called becoming maturity or whatever, I don't know what it. But what our perspective is this Christmas, our perspective shapes everything. Okay, who you listen to shapes your perspective. I hope that we have some influence on that. We're inundated with the world perspective every day, and it's I sent it's like, for example, I sent something to Sean today. I don't know if he got it or not, but I saw a tweet from the White House's Twitter account today.
Yes, and that's something I was gonna talk to you about. Yeah, and I went back and looked at the actual White House website, and it's very much up there, because there was some speculation. I saw someone else post it, and they were talking about like that's fake.
Yeah, and so this
100% from the actual website.
And I'll just read this. I should have had this on for our viewers to see, but it says this was a tweet that came out. So I got this morning. So it would have been, I guess, last night, because it was 13 hours. So it says, whitehouse.gov, we are intent on not letting Omicron, whatever it is, disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get through this. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. And quite frankly, that pissed me off 7 ways to Sunday. If our perspective of the world anymore is about, and I've said this 1,000 times, our perspective of the world is about us anymore. We are so self-centered right now that we are concerned about us, me. Look at us, and I can't be right, or I can't be wrong, and you can't be right. And it angers me to see statements like this coming from the highest level of our government being more divisive than ever before. And when you make a statement, that's a polarizing statement right there. That is a polarizing statement to say, you stupid, uneducated, unvaccinated people. How stupid are you? And I will say this from my own heart. I have went from one side of the spectrum to the other on this. Okay? And Tammy McPike has just asked, do I believe that? Well, Tammy, to tell you the truth, no, I don't. Because do I believe that there's another? Yes, there's another variant out there. It's broken out here in the United States. But to make that kind of statement, to say to somebody, you are going, they're honestly saying, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death. And to make that kind of statement is telling people that, you've made the wrong decision. We don't care what you think is what's best for your family. And I was I would say probably maybe early summer, I was part of that crowd that was saying, man, what's the big deal? Don't get if you want, get vaccinated. It's not a big deal. And then I started looking into it, and I got vaccinated, and I thought, and I know I did what I thought was right for me. And I was a little bit of a pompous jerk at the time because I threw it up in other people's faces. Oh, well, look at me. But at the same time, people don't like being told what to do. So instead of looking out just for me and saying, well, it shouldn't be a big deal, or it shouldn't be a big deal to you or to me, I was very selfish about it. And so part of and that's the other thing, what has happened to caring for our fellow man? What has happened to caring for those who are of different ethnic groups, different color, different, religion, different economic, but what's happened to that? I didn't share this with Sean either. So in one of my classes with government, we just got done talking about congressional investigations and the power of Congress to investigate stuff, and we brought up about the Iran-Contra hearings back in the 80s and about the hostage crisis in Iran. And one of my students said, "Have you ever seen the movie Argo?" And I said, "No, I have never seen Argo. I've always wanted to see it." She said, "Well, it deals with the beginning days of the Iranian hostage crisis." And I was like, "Well, that's Ben Affleck." And so I watched that. If you have not seen Argo, you need to watch it. It's
a great movie.
It is a great movie. And at the end of the movie, and I mean, throughout the movie, it uses actual footage from just like the storming from the TV, the storming of the embassy to different newscasts, and I had forgotten how long. I was 6 years old at the time, and so I forgot that the Iranian hostage crisis lasted 444 days. I say all that, and I got sidetracked there, but I say all that because it at the end of the movie when they're basically the Canadians get the credit for help when it was the CIA, but you see Republican and Democrat leadership saying we thank our neighbors to the north and we thank our and they didn't get political about it. They didn't say well why didn't this happen or why didn't that happen. I mean, it did pretty much end President Carter's political career, but it still showed the goodness of man towards another man. And I say man in the and I think that movie showed me that there was a time when people, I think, more or less cared for people more than what we do today. It's all about, I'm going to go ahead and get mine. I'm going to get what, and we forget the bigger picture. And so one of our listeners said, "You have the right to weigh the pros and cons. I see the effects from the jab. It's not pretty, and the hospital has the ones vaccinated as well. Don't believe everything you see or read." I totally agree with that. Thank you very much for that comment. But no matter, and from my point of view, and Sean is a Christian as well, I look at this from this time of year too, because I look at the original story. I look at the original story and realize that we have a bigger purpose. God took for the reason that we celebrate, how you believe or what you believe, but God took a person in the form of Mary and used her to deliver the Christ child in a situation that she was totally unprepared for. Church history, if you really look at it and you look at Middle Eastern culture at that time, Mary was probably between the ages, and I know this sounds disgusting and weird, but she was probably between the ages of 12 and 15. Okay? And she was used as a purpose, as a vessel, and she put herself aside in that time period. Let me give you a little bit of side history here. Whether you believe that she was, however she got pregnant, what we settled, there was a person named Jesus, and his mother was Mary. At that time, her husband could have had her killed. Divorced, killed, put away, boom. And he saw the bigger picture. There's something bigger than me and my, Joseph could have said, "You know what? I'm not marrying a whore. I'm not marrying somebody who slept around and got pregnant." But he didn't. And for whatever reason, he saw the bigger picture. He saw beyond himself, and he saw the whole thing of being there for somebody else and helping somebody else. I want to play a quick clip real quick. This is when I asked about what Christmas means to people today. One of my basketball parents actually sent me this one clip. Let me bring it up here. Let's get it on the right page here. All right, and I want you guys just a little 3-minute clip. I want you guys to see this one, and we'll talk about it after we watch it here.
Christmas is not always holly jolly. It can be kind of stressful, especially when you have 2 toddlers. 2. So you have all these things to do, the parties, the decorating, the baking, the gift buying, the gift wrapping, and of course, the Christmas photo taking. Theo, big smile. And this is all for the little kids, but they're constantly like working against you on all of it.
Baby girl.
You know, put it down. So I finally got the kids some gifts bought the other day, and I wrapped them up and put them underneath the tree. And then they immediately opened them. And Theo was so excited because he's like, Dad, look, a car. And I'm like, yes, but that's not for you. Well, it is for you, but we have to wrap it up and put it underneath the tree, right where you can see it, but you can't have it. I don't know why he doesn't get it. And the whole gift thing is tough too, because you've got 2 different grandparents buying them gifts, you got aunts and uncles buying them gifts, and you start to get all this stuff, but you also feel like the gift coming from you should be the best gift, so you feel like you gotta one-up the grandparents, but you also don't want to spoil your children. And so all of this is going through my head, and then I finally figure out what we're gonna give our kids for Christmas.
Pardon the commercial. They're going to play their little ad here. Sorry about that. I'll have to skip the
Get Macy's lowest prices of the season going on
Macy's
right now.
get the better of
Like
us
the
here.
Radley Sectional, $19.99.
There we go. Now here's the rest of it.
Ho, ho, ho! Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas! Ah! Come Santa Claus! Come Santa Claus! Like Santa Claus Day!
Just a small town girl
Oh, gosh!
living in a snowy world.
Zero, you want a cookie?
She took the midnight train going in.
I realized the best present I could give my kids for Christmas was my presents.
Just
All of this stuff, the decorating and the baking and the events and the parties and the gifts, all of that is just a catalyst for us to spend time together and connect. And if we're not doing that, then we're not really experiencing Christmas.
children dreaming, waiting for Santa Claus to come down the chimney tonight. Starlight.
When I remember back to my own childhood, I don't remember hardly any of the gifts that my parents gave me. But what I do remember is the time that we spent together. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, no, Taylor, Christmas is about Jesus. And that's true, and it's the exact same message, because God sent his only son and gave him to us to reconnect with him. And that's what Christmas is all about. So whether you have $1 to spend for Christmas or 10,000, just know that you're already enough.
Don't stop.
So I want to thank Jimmy Stribling, who, like I said, is the parent of one of my basketball girls, and sent that to me as his response to me. Here's what I think Christmas is about, and so that kind of draws on my point too. And then I'll let you go at it for a while, Sean. That Christmas isn't about what we get or about what we're going to do to make and you mentioned earlier, what we're going to do into the new year. Here's what we're going to do into the new year. After I kind of thought about this week, and I said a prayer. I try to pray every day, and my prayer the other day was, God, help me to be more of a influence for others, to be a positive light for others in such a dark time as this. And to me, I want to do more, because I think a lot, we may not seem like it, but I am a very selfish person, just like anybody. If anybody tries to tell you that they're not a selfish person, they're a liar. And so my focus, and I've always been of the belief that if you want to make a change in your world, you have to start with yourself. And that's during this Christmas time, during this Christmas season, I want you guys to really think about that, and this, do a look in the mirror and say, what am I doing to make someone else's life better? Not look at, oh my God, I've got another thing I've got to deal with. God, why is this? Your perspective, your Christmas perspective matters. How you view everything else. So.
Yeah, I actually really like what you said there. Because I fall into the same category as I can be a very selfish um, person as well. And one thing that I'm really learning, it has not come easy by any stretch of the means. But one thing that I work towards every day to get better at is when Tony and Julian came into my life, it was very new. Because I have I'd had girlfriends in the past, but I had never taken on the role as a dad before. And so, and this was also the first time that I'd ever had a serious relationship. And then on top of that, like Tony and Julian moved in with me. And so the steps and the changes in maturity of understanding that it's not just me. There are certain things when you become a parent, when you become a significant other, there are things that you have to adapt and things that have to change, and there is a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. And sometimes that's very difficult, especially for me was I was 22, 23 at the time, and so 23, yeah. And so that was new. It was a new process to and I'm still not 100% there. There's definitely still things that I might plan or do and then go, oh crap, now I have to backtrack. I have to go back because now I have two other people that I'm responsible for that I have to accommodate as well. Um, Part of that I think is my ADHD and my squirreliness to bounce around all over the place, which I think gets worse as I get older, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But um, but no, I agree, and I actually really enjoyed that video. I had to mute this and I pulled it up on my phone so I could hear it better. But yeah, I really did like that message, and that's something that we're trying really hard to do with Julian is as we're trying to make more of a make the event of Christmas special and not so much the gifts from Christmas special. I remember when I was a kid, um, there was one year, and I think it was like junior high even. I mean, I don't remember the exact year, but I was a really spoiled kid, and but not in like a way. So I didn't understand the concept of like how money worked, how credit worked. I didn't understand any of that stuff. I just knew my parents worked full time. We always had a roof over our head and we always had food. So I never really understood like why are things this way? And now that I'm older, I understand how much I took a lot of that for granted. But like I remember there was one year I had really wanted an Xbox 360 because all my friends had gotten one. I had a bunch of other friends that had like PlayStations that had them for a while. All these things, and I was so excited about it, and then I ended up not getting it for Christmas and was disappointed, but got other stuff. And then one of those things ended up breaking right away. And I was having a conversation, and I had found out that my mom had actually originally had bought me an Xbox 360 for Christmas. However, it was one of the cheaper models that I had expressed earlier on. I said, there's no point of getting me one of those because I can't do anything with them because they're, so it's not the one I want. And had an absolute meltdown. And now that I'm older, I get so angry. I cringe at that moment of just like how angry and upset that I was over something so small because my parents had always worked super hard. And I mean, now that I'm older, I understand it. Like, I had friends that might have had a PlayStation and might have had a Nintendo DS and things I wanted, but then there would always be a week at a time in their house where they didn't have power, and then there was a reason why those friends that had all those things came to my house every single day of the week to eat. You know,
Mhm.
there was a lot of me not understanding, like, why can they have these things, but then it hit me. Oh, because we're not buying things on credit. We're not buying things that
Right.
rent to owns. Like, and then once I was older, and then once I spent time away, like when I was deployed and gone for Christmas, you learn to really recognize what the holiday is about. And I love spending time with my family. I'm a homebody for sure, and I love spending time with my family as opposed to the gifts that we give, especially when we get older. Like now that I have um, my daughter, like definitely what that guy said was, you got grandparents from this way, that way, buying them stuff. You got Uncle Devin is buying her a bunch of gifts that I can't even top. And so it's just, there's so much coming in, and then how do we establish with Julian, how do we establish with her, like, hey, this is, we don't want that to be what it's all about. I remember, and I don't know if I spoke about this last time, one of the best traditions we had, and I know that some people might totally disagree with this. One of my favorite Christmas traditions I had with my parents for a long time, because when my sister was with her now husband, they always did Christmas with us the morning of Christmas and then went to his family's Christmas afterwards. So that afterwards, for years, I mean, 6-7 years, my mom and dad and we would go to the movie theaters and watch a movie or two at the movie theaters on Christmas. It was like our thing, and I loved it. I was looking more forward to that than I was anything else, that morning, because of just what it meant to me to kind of have that time and make those kind of memories. And so that's what I want to help establish for my daughter is, the gift stuff's okay, but we need to make that second nature. We need to really understand that it's about family. And then, you know, some families choose to you know, involve religion, and for me personally, religion plays a big part in my life.
Mhm.
Tis the season, the reason for this season
Right.
is Christ's birth, and that's just for me. So but I remember I saw a post recently that I really did like, and I wish I would have screenshot it so you could share it up here. But it was this parent or a therapist or counselor, something that works with children, who is urging them to make the gifts that come from Santa be smaller gifts.
Yes.
And have gifts that, like, if they're going to do, an iPad or a big TV,
I saw that.
have those be from mom and dad. And the reason why is because there are so many children out there who are young, and when they go back to school, these kids that, if they come from a lower income family or a family where there's troubles, or maybe their parents don't even buy them gifts, they're, getting gifts from donation centers or whatever it might be. If that child is getting, something super small from Santa, and then their friend gets the newest iPad and a
And you see-
phone
right.
and this, then that kid might think, what does Santa think of me? Why doesn't Santa like me the way that Santa likes that kid? And I think that's super important. That's definitely something that Tony and I will incorporate with Julian, is the Santa gifts are most definitely, not going to be the over the top. If we decide to do anything that's crazy, those are going to be from mom and dad or Uncle Devin or grandma and grandpa, and the Santa gifts are going to be the ones that are, like, smaller, maybe more meaningful kind of things. And I think that's super important.
I actually, yep, here it is. Here, let me bring this up here. I've got it right here. If I can, probably not going to be able to get it. Let me stretch the screen out here real quick. You're right. It was from a social worker. Let me stretch the screen out here a little bit here, and yeah, it says, I cannot stress this enough. Stop telling your Santa-age kids that their iPads and iPhones and $200 toys are from Santa, because some families can't afford that. Little kids wonder why they got socks or a coat or hand-me-down toys from Santa, just like what you said. And it's like, this is the second year I've had a parent cry to me telling me that their kid asked if they weren't good enough. Yeah, so that definitely is I mean, you and I come from very similar backgrounds, being preachers' kids, and we know. I mean, for all of unless your last name is Olstein, which I wouldn't want that last name anyway. But unless your last name is Olstein and you're a preacher's kid, you and Sean and I's dads both preached in pretty much the similar kind of, I guess you could say, congregation. Small, rural. My dad did a lot of mission type situations, and there was only a few years that all four of us boys were home at the same time when we were growing up, because there's a 19-year age difference between me and my brother, or something like that. But the fact is that we never knew that we were poor. Mm-hmm. We never knew that we were poor. It was never an issue just to say we didn't have. I remember we made memories of. And I get so teary-eyed anymore when I think of my mother during this time of year, because my mom's been dead for 10 years, and, I'll just make just a small batch of butterscotch fudge, or, when we make cookies, I want to make cookies with my kids. We make cookies, and we do all this stuff. So that imprint, I couldn't honestly think of any gift that I still have that I got when I was, that age. And so, and again, all ties back into that original thing of what I said of, what is your perspective of Christmas? What should be your perspective of Christmas? And, it's very important this time of year for us to really focus on where we need to be at. So,
yeah. And I mean, this year, especially because of, the loved ones lost during COVID, because where the economy is at. I mean, Christmas, I'm actually fairly certain, and I hope I'm not wrong, but I feel like I've seen this. So I'm going to say, don't quote me on this, but please do your due diligence and actually look it up. But I'm fairly certain that the holiday seasons are also some of the highest suicide rate times.
That is correct.
Because of the stress, because of people's situations financially, mentally, can be very difficult. It's for a lot of people, Christmas or maybe the holidays weren't always something super special, and so when you get older, it can be hard to kind of really create that atmosphere. It's up to you to it sounds silly, but we live in an apartment here, and we unfortunately we're going to move, and then that fell through, which added more stress. But our Christmas tree is a fake palm tree plant that we have right now that's strung up with Christmas lights. And some people have looked at it and been like, you guys, what is that? And we're like, well, it's just what we're doing this year. And
it's a good memory.
Yeah, no. And it's that was kind of one of the things that, Tony and I had even talked about, was we're going to remember this as the Christmas where we had a bunch of moving boxes packed up, sitting in our living room because we thought we were going to be moving. And then it didn't happen. And so I just encourage, if you're not going out to see your family, or if, you're going to stay local, or even if you are going to go visit your family, reach out. If there's friends, other people you haven't seen in a while, reach out, let them know, hey, Merry Christmas, love you, thinking about you, because you never know. For a lot of people, this is going to be the first Christmas without a parent. It could be their first Christmas without a brother, without a sister, without their significant other, and there's so many of them, especially because of the pandemic, because of everything. And then on top of the regular nonsense that we have. So it's just it's stressful, and it's for all of the times that we get so angry at one another, whether it's politically. Heck, I watched a video the other day. It was actually kind of amusing. Donald Trump was speaking at it was like an interview conference that he was at, and he was asked if he got the booster, and he said, yes, I have the booster, I have the vaccine. And he's like, to not get it would be stupid. He's like, you need to get it, because if you don't, then that's them controlling fear over you, or you having fear. And in an auditorium full of Trump supporters, he's sitting there getting booed, and he's like, don't boo. Just get it. Just get the booster. Just get it done. And it was funny, but at a time where we argue, where it's this way, it's that way, take a deep breath, put it into perspective, understand why people are scared. If you're someone that's so pro-vaxxed and you don't understand why, let's say, someone's not getting vaxxed, instead of belittling them and rolling on about them, instead of saying like, hey, you can be genuine. Why are you worried about being vaxxed? At least help me understand. And they might tell you, hey, I have a heart condition, and this is why I'm worried of things like myocarditis, or
Right.
I want to be a father in the future, and I don't know what the effects are with this. And if you're anti-vax, and instead of calling all people that are vax stupid, instead of calling them sheep, just shut up, because that's clearly not the case.
It's not about you, and I'm repeating myself again, but it's not about. We'll just cut it down to that. It's not about you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's not about you.
It's of all the times. It's. I'm really hoping, and I'll be just doing a lot of wishful thinking,
Mm-hmm.
but I wish that as we roll into 2022, this can be, the year where we start to get the ball rolling again, as things open up, as things start to change. And again, more wishful thinking than probably anything, but I do truly feel blessed to have the life that I live. I enjoy the things that I do. I enjoy the people that I've surrounded myself with. I enjoy, everything about life is awesome right now for me. And so for those of you that are listening and maybe life isn't so great for you right now, please don't hesitate to ever reach out to either of us on all of our social media platforms. And even if it's not something that we can necessarily help you with, we're more than happy to help guide you in the right direction of the resources that we have to help spin things, because we understand that these are stressful times. We understand everybody's different, but I can speak from my own experience. If there's anyone in the world that is just a good set of ears and a good heart to ask questions and to speak to, V is your guy, and I'm more than happy to always hear and help in any way that we can.
And we also do have at the show. We have tons of people who we have had on, who we have, and we do have, and I thank you for all the folks out there at Columbus Road Baptist Church who give us a listen every week. A lot of folks who I go to church with, and I know a lot of counselors. And please, like Sean said, reach out. We are definitely in that. It really, so.
Yeah, I liked where this conversation rolled into, because the Christmas perspective, it is important, because it's one of those things where if you can really kind of get that clarity during this time, you can take that into the new year, and you can take that and learn from that in life, and understand that the big message of today is you hit it on the nail, or you hit it on the head, V, with it is all about, it's not about you, and people really need to focus on that, focus on the good that's around you, focus on the people around you.
We got a little bit of time if you want to go into the thing that you want to talk about here.
Yeah, and we could kind of make this quick, and mind you, this is a complete 180 kind of what we've been talking about
here.
that is what we do, because I saw this video earlier and V's going to post it up, and it was
I want a job,
hilarious.
please.
Hold on a second. Sorry. Played automatically. But go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Yeah, so this is a video that I saw, and it was just funny because I'll get into why I thought it was so funny here in a minute. I'm probably later on in a couple episodes down from now, but V, run this video for me.
Okay, sure. Hold on a second here.
Hi, I want a job, please. Hired. Do you need my name or anything? Nope, I'll see you on Monday. Hi, I'd like an entry-level job, please. I have a bachelor's, a master's, and here are my references. Fuck you. Hi.
Oh.
So the reason why I found that video,
that's good stuff,
so funny, was so if you look, like, it's no secret that a lot of places are without help, and we see, so many places hiring, especially we see it like in the industry, like the fast food or the service industry. That's where a lot of people are hurting, just because that's some of the first businesses that really got hurt at the start of COVID. But the level of truth to that video is insane. I am an individual. I have a great career. I love what I do right now. I love recruiting. However, I'm an individual that is always seeking what's next. What is the next best opportunity for me to evolve and just to grow as a person, to learn more, to educate myself more. And and it's almost like kind of for fun, but I apply for a lot of places, and I've talked to a lot of my friends that have degrees, that have completed college, that have completed certifications, that have all kinds of experience, who have applied to different positions all over, and whether it's the civilian market, like friends of mine that have military experience that go into the civilian market, and it is insane the amount of jobs, or lack thereof, I should say, of business professional jobs right now that are worth anything. Right. And I found that video so amusing, because he's like, yeah, I just want to an entry level position, and here's my thing. Like, there were a couple of companies, again, very basic entry level positions, that I had applied for, and I had actually heard back from a couple of different places. And mind you, these are jobs that, because of my military experience, I didn't necessarily need the degree, even though a degree was required for some of these positions. And I had spoken with the actual hiring people, like, hey, I am a senior technically in college as far as my enrollment status goes, but here's my portfolio, here's my experience. Like, oh, then you're golden. But whenever I was like, okay, well, what kind of salary would one be starting at? And
you get the FU at the end. So
it's quite literally the FU. And for me, when I would look at things like that, is I go, okay, if let's say I was a fresh college graduate and moved to this area, even if you have the rent that I had, and even if you didn't have a lot of the bills that I have as a father, and it still would be barely livable. And then to throw in the student loan debt that a lot of folks are facing, that a lot of people have, and now at the end of January, those payments are coming back. Even though the Biden administration earlier said otherwise. Anywho, I cannot wrap my head around how some of those jobs that require 4 years of education pay the same as an individual that works full time, whether it be. And I'm not trying. I want to get it. I want to make myself very, very clear. I mean zero disrespect to any service industry member, because I've worked in the service industry for most of my life. That is what I pride myself in, is working in food service. I love everything about food service, whether it's the front of the house, back of the house. I love it. I would never disrespect anyone that's in that business. But there is an issue, a huge issue across the board, where if you go to school and get a 4-year education specifically for a job, that you would make the same amount of money as a career, and that I don't want to say anybody can do it, because trust me, not everybody can do service industry jobs, but reasonably anybody could put in an application and at least land the job. I'll put it that way. Because like with construction workers, with welders, like there's certificates, there's certifications, there's things that you do have to pass in order to get those jobs and to be paid well. And also those are manual labor jobs. So, but it blows my mind why, like you had spoken, why a teacher that would put in 4 years of education to instruct the youth and the next leaders, the future generations of our nation, why someone could walk into a Save-A-Lot and earn the same amount of money, even though there's, zero requirement, zero experience. Like, I don't think that, I hate the term, what do they even call it? Was it like low skill? What is the term for? I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here. But when it's typically a job that, as long as that if you can make the interview, there's a good chance you're going to get the job.
Right.
Again, I still believe that those individuals deserve a living wage. I don't want people to be struggling at all. But at the end of the day, if you get educated and you are required to have that piece of paper to get a job, I don't, it blows my mind that the discrepancy is there. Entry-level jobs for a lot of these things. And when I talk to a lot of my high school kids, when I go to these schools for these ASVAB interps, when they've taken the ASVAB and we talk about it, a lot of them they'll look at the average salary and they'll be like, oh man, a financial advisor, I'm averaging $100,000 a year. And I have to put the pause on. I said, hold up. I said, I don't want you guys, I'm not saying you would never make $100,000 a year in your career as a financial advisor. I know a bunch of financial advisors that do very well and that do make that kind of money. However, I do know that some of them, it took 10 years to see that kind of money, which that's not so bad. Some of them was even less than that. But I know what they started out as, and I know what the entry level position for a financial advisor or a financial manager can be. And there's a lot of work and there's a lot of grind. And for some people, if you go to school for 4 years to become a financial advisor, they can't even afford the first 2 years of that career to stay afloat because the salary's so low.
We just had one of our listeners chime in and said, totally agree. Feel the same, went to school and I can have less stress flipping a burger and no raise in healthcare unless you're a traveler. And, I think that there was the saying that I had when I was in school, and I remember bumper stickers and all this other stuff. It was, the tassel is worth the hassle. And that's not the case anymore, I mean, and I want to go back. I think I need to go back, and this actually ties into what we've been talking about earlier. When you look at, people want their fair share, and again in these low, but and again, I served my time in working at a pizza joint, Palmyra, Missouri, Bordeaux Pizza. Learned a lot there. Learned a lot of life lessons there. Worked in the cabinet factory in between teaching jobs, and it was a painful job. There has to come, and I hate using the word entitled. I hate using that word because it's an overused word. But I had a conversation with my boss earlier this week, and we were talking about this. And he said, people want the equality of outcome without the equality of work. And I don't know if that makes sense or not, but when we were talking about this, if Susie gets the A, Johnny deserves the A as well. Why? Well, because Johnny and Susie are in the same class together, and Susie may work 3 hours on a project where Johnny, he puts in his little bit to scoot by, but we've got, I mean, hey, he did his part too, so he should, when you start rewarding people, in some of these industries, I mean, I believe if you're a service industry and you've put your time in, and I mean, you and I both know people who started out as the janitor or as the cart boy at Walmart. I know a manager of, I want to have him on sometime, he's one of my best friends. He started out as a cart boy at 16 at Walmart, pushing carts at Walmart. And he became one of the youngest Walmart associate managers in the United States at the age of 20. At the age of 20. What was different about him? Well, this is one of the hardest working. Whenever he saw an opportunity, or he saw, he was always looking at the job posting board. Okay, what do I need to do to get to that step? And he would constantly ask his supervisor, okay, what do I need to do to get in this? And they say, well, you need to go through this training. Or that. Okay, put me through that training. Or if it was something he had to pay for, okay, get me to that next step. And now at 20, I think he's 28 or 29, he manages a Dollar General and is one of the most successful Dollar Generals in the area because he, and this is a guy who I look at who has worked very hard to get to where he's at. And that's not saying that you can't get to that in those service industries, but if that's going to be your plan for life, or that's what's going to be your goal, and you want to get ahead, then you need to work to the higher position. You need to work to where there's a position of responsibility. And I'm not looking at, I don't look at my job. I look at my job the way you look at your job. I look at the opportunities of being able to, how can I serve somebody, and be a better teacher? And how can I, to me, going into career because of the money is not totally wrong, but it shouldn't be your only reason. If I go into a job that I hate, I need to get a different job. I mean, I know people and teaching has, over the last 3 years, teaching has been a hellacious career choice. This last year, I was talking to one of my coworkers today. We both feel like we're just hovering in this spot. This has been this is my 25th year of education. And quite frankly, Sean, this has been the hardest year of education that I've ever done. Because we're still, it's like, it's like that, being just totally through a traumatic event and you're still trying to, navigate through the space, and it's really hard to do. And like you said, I mean, even in this time, like that TikTok was showing, well, we don't care. We don't care. And again, have compassion. To tie our two messages in, first of all, have compassion on the person who is working or on the lower end of the totem pole. Maybe they don't have a way to get, there's always other jobs out. Well, yes, you're right. But maybe they're in a situation. Maybe they're stuck in a place, or they have some people are just unhirable because they have too much experience. That's something else you have to consider too. Mm-hmm. I am very unmarketable right now. If I decided to lose, not saying that I'm a 47-year-old male with 25 years of teaching experience, a master's degree, and all of this stuff. And if I was to go, and not that I don't want to leave Clopton. I just want to get that out there. Please don't write letters. I want to but if I was to go somewhere else right now, if it was me, and I could have that list of references too. I mean, I've got a list of references 1.5 miles long. I've served under 7 different superintendents, 3 different principals who would gladly vouch for me. But that doesn't mean anything. Mm-hmm. And I totally get what you're saying there because, you can have all of that and be totally unmarketable.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting as the market gets back to as we establish right. Whatever normal is going to be, whenever it will come, who knows? But right. No, I really enjoyed this conversation tonight. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited for next week's conversation as well. As once we figure out a day, we will get back with everyone and let everyone know exactly what day that's going to be.
I wish you guys could see what I could see right now. So I have 3 screens going here, and this screen over here on my left is my comment board. And Sean, the comment board is full, and I love that.
I love that.
I love that. Nice. Thank you all for. We had a bunch of different commenters tonight. I'm sorry I didn't get to all of the comments, but man, we had a lot tonight. And thank you guys so much for taking part in our broadcast to see. This is the kind of stuff we want to see.
Yes, and we are. We keep it coming. You guys know what to do. Make sure you guys give us a like, check us out. Make sure you give us a like, give us a share right here on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. What was the new one? The Daily Beast.
No. Yeah. Daily Motion. Daily Motion.
Oh, Daily Motion. Gotcha. Okay.
So,
yeah. Make sure you guys check us out wherever you guys get your podcast need, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We are on all platforms. Again, you guys can talk to Amazon, talk to your Alexa, let her know, hey, play the Voice of Reason podcast 2021, and she'll start spitting to you guys, and we will be on there as well. She'll be watching you while you're taking a shit, but that's all right. You'll still be able to listen to us. We could be everywhere with you. So again, please like, please share, and I encourage you guys over this week, because we are going to talk about resolutions next week. So I do encourage you guys, if you do want to be involved in talking about your resolutions, and we want to hear them, we want to be able to discuss them and kind of see how many of them are similar to ours. I know for me, and we'll get into it next week more, I've got a ton of different ones. So we will definitely get into that. That is all that I have. V, is there anything you'd like to say before we go?
No. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Yes.
Please enjoy the holiday this week.
Yep. Merry Christmas.